have a very impressive PowerPoint. Actually, that's it. But,
Don't you like PowerPoint?
sorry?
Don't you like PowerPoint?
Not today. But,
Never mind.
I still wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in the VR video industry, sort of, because we have actually some stuff that's going on. So, and also the things that we are doing right now are directly related to this community, because I met Karel and Mailis in these events, and now we're doing stuff together, and we have actual budgets, and it's awesome. And so my name is Rein. I'm a professional filmmaker, you could say. I'm a director, but also an editor, producer, After Effects guy, actor, whatever. And I'm very glad to say that just this week we registered, me and my partner, a company called Marvel VR Productions. So as far as I know, it's like the first company registered in Estonia that has VR in its name. No?
No.
Anybody knows? No? Okay. And what we're doing is mixing live action footage. If somebody doesn't know what that means, it's not 3D graphics, it's filmed footage with interactivity for virtual reality. So about 2 years ago, it was, and more about me is that I also run the most popular gaming podcast in Estonia called Puhata ja Mängida. And I also write technology reviews, especially for VR, for the technology magazine Digi. So I'm kind of the guy who makes films and videos, but I think in games. So I try to be the guy who's connecting film stuff to the VR stuff, because VR, the storytelling is VR, it resembles more games than the usual film, which is confusing a lot of filmmakers who try to make VR stuff, but then end up forcing the person to look at one particular way all the time, and thus taking away from what VR can actually be. But about 2 years ago, I started to believe in VR after trying one roller coaster demo in Finland. It's always roller coasters. And about 6 months later, I ended up in a workshop in Finland where we actually created VR footage using just one camera. And that was kind of mind-blowing for me, because I thought VR is going to be a thing, and it never occurred to me that I can use my skill set as a video maker to create VR. And then I came for the first time to talk about it in one of the VR events. But now, about 6 months ago, things actually got real when we made an application for a Tallinn City Council, and the tourism part wanted to make a VR video to promote the old city of Tallinn inside VR. And well, creating 360 video and putting it in VR is not that difficult, but they also want it to be interactive. So this is where things got confusing. So I contacted Karel and Mailis, and we talked about it, and Karel said that yeah, it's theoretically possible. You know, you make a Unity program, you put video in a sphere, and you have some interactive parts. And we won. So we got the project, and now it's almost finished. We have a pretty good prototype. Unfortunately, I downloaded some wrong files, so I don't have it with me. But if anybody's very interested, I guess I can send it to you later and keep it a secret. So, what's it all about? Is that there are 8 scenes, and there's a guide who is talking about each place. Like, this is the Raekoja, and this is the church of this, and he's a very cool guy, and then very charismatic, and talks about things. So the camera is always in the same place, so that the person can choose what he or she is watching, and the guide is there in front of him or her and just encouraging to look around. And then at the end of each scene, 2 bubbles appear, and you can use your eyes to activate them. For game makers, it sounds really simple. For filmmakers, it sounds absolutely impossible. So we tried to do this sort of mix-up, and it has taken a lot of time. And but we got it working. And we also did spatial audio, but unfortunately the drivers are not yet as good as they should be. So right now we're going with just the normal stereo sound. Just this week there was the Estonian TV show Pealtnägija claimed that some concert video that is being made is the first one in Estonia, where they make video for virtual reality, which is some very good journalism there. This year I gave an interview to Pealtnägija in some gaming-related matters, and they messed up my name, so I'm starting to feel very negative towards them. But soon the project is going to be launched, and we made it for Gear VR, HTC Vive, and Oculus Rift. So it was very important for us not to use specific controllers, so that's why we made it all like just direction-based. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about 360 footage in general, because some people might claim that it's not real VR. And well, they have a point in a sense. Of course it is VR, but if you have the time and the budget and you have a project that can be done in 3D graphics, then 3D graphics is better for VR because of the camera nodal point. That means that well, in 3D graphics with the HTC Vive you can do room scale, you can walk around, interact, of course, and when you have film footage, then well, you have a bubble around you, which is actually 2D, but when it's done correctly, it's still quite believable. People often ask me that if you walk around in it, can you see like different things? Well, if you're in a cinema and you walk around the screen, then you look at the screen at from another angle. But if you go behind the screen, you don't see the back of the heads of the actors actually. So the same, of course, happens in VR also. But still, there are a lot of projects where live action should be preferred, and usually it's easier to do also. The camera system we used was Omni by GoPro, so it's technically just 6 GoPros, but if you ever have done the stitching with the GoPros, then Omni is so much better, because it's this camera rig that's released by Omni, and it means that every camera is synchronized. It's a camera array, and every time all the frames are taken simultaneously, and the exposure and all the other settings, they are controlled by one main camera, and this makes the quality of the footage so much better. I mean, it's still GoPro, it means it's still not uncompressed footage. It's H.264 codec, which already compresses some things, but out of this it's really, I would even say it's like the best you can record right now, because there's a lot of information. The resolution can be really high in the final projects, because it's 6 cameras, it's a resolution of 6 cameras. And that's very important, because in the live action footage you're actually looking like 1/6 of the material. So when usually 4K TVs is like a marketing thing and you don't really need a 4K TV, then in virtual reality you really need like a 4K material, because the stuff that you're looking at is so much less. So just a part of it. And also it needs to have a high frame rate. which can be argued that if it should be high frame rate or just high refresh rate, then high frame rate is still, I think it's very good for creating the feeling of presence. There have been like stop motion films made for VR where the puppets move like 12 times per second or something like this. And I mean, it's okay, but if you want to create something more realistic and you want people to actually believe that they're in there, then I would say that 60 FPS is minimum. Word of advice, if you're shooting 60 FPS in Estonia, don't do it in places where you have old lighting equipment, because they flicker.
Right, you get the interference.
Yes, they flicker like crazy. There has been some system updates after that for GoPro Omni, so I think 50 would work well, but at the time when we were shooting, we didn't have that as an option. It's very funny to shoot in 360 because all the crew and the equipment needs to be hidden, so everybody will run around and hide behind trees and rocks and behind corners, and when we were shooting in the old towns and people you had this constant leader who walked by. It's just some weird guy with mustache is talking to some box, and nothing around him suggests that this is a professional set. But very useful tool was the wireless microphone, so I as a director could have headphones, and behind the corner I could still hear what the guy was saying, so we were kind of ready that when we hear some yelling or something, then we're going to run and help. But with the release of GoPro Omni, the whole 360 creation has become much more viable, and then it can be professionally graded, and you can do sound, and sound is very important, of course, and yeah, it's really going somewhere. And like 2 years ago or 1 year ago, it was like a completely different landscape, and when I'm guessing most of you have watched some sort of film in VR, and then even like the high level 1 year ago is what you can get now. So we're doing one more project actually for Tallinn, which is also supposed to be ready very soon. In 2010, City of Tallinn made this project called like Panoramas of Tallinn or something, where this photographer had done very good for the time 360 sphere photos of Old Town, like in completely different places, and we are doing 360 a VR app for that, so that you can like not walk around, you can look around inside these spheres, and like you're in one church tower and you see another, and then you can control it with your eye that you move over there. And we also add some soundscapes to that. So actually in this video project we cheated a little bit, and we actually used one photo because we didn't have time to climb to the tower of the town hall, Raekotorm. And so we used one photo, we got licenses and everything, and I just added some birds into the distance and some clouds, and we made like sound effects and stuff like this. So like we have 7 scenes, and the 8th scene is actually just made with post using this photo from 2010. And which is sad is that this is like the most popular one. People are like, whoa, I'm in a tower, it was so awesome. You don't want to tell them that this is like a photo that has been up in the web for like 6 years. And
So,
nobody has watched it before and said, whoa.
So it's like a Michael Moore movie.
Sorry?
So it's like a Michael Moore movie. They film whatever, and then in post they make it
Yeah, we
with
make
the story.
yeah, we make the story in post. Yes, exactly. But it's just weird that you could do like spherical photos so long time ago, but now in VR they really you can make them come to life. And we have some other projects coming that I can't really talk to you about yet, but I'm very happy to say that things are moving in that regard, and also I try to be the guy who's like asking these important questions like should the story be VR and what kind of story should be made, and I'm also very interested in making the first 360 short film in Estonia.
So, but like on a technical side, how did you start to turn it into interactive? What kind of like the solution you were aiming for? I mean, there are several options. You could supplement it with additional 3D details, so these can be interacted with, which don't have to be like visible, but are there to add structure, so you can have interactions attached to these objects, or was it more like just assigning zones in these live action footage clips?
So, something in the middle. It's like every time a scene ends, then the guy asks where do you want to go next,
Okay.
and two bubbles appear.
Okay,
It's
like,
like two icons, and also very important is that these icons are in a 3D space because the video itself is monoscopic,
Okay.
and so it looks very cool that you can actually see a little bit of parallax, that the icons sort of pop out, and then when you look over them, you have a cursor. The cursor doesn't appear anywhere else, just when you look above on the icons, and then it's gonna start going up to a full circle. It takes 3 seconds, and you hear also a sound effect when it like turns up, so that you understand that you're interacting with it.
Like a point and click adventure game.
Pretty much, yeah.
Can you have different endings?
No.
Can you jump out of it?
If we had time, we would have loved to make like little Easter eggs and hidden scenes and all that stuff, but unfortunately we had just one shooting day and we had to cram a lot of scenes into that also. During the day, during the shooting, it's very hard to preview the material. I actually bought the Samsung 360 camera also for the future for live previewing. Not live while you're shooting, but just before that you can test how it all looks and see it live, because with the GoPro setup the most idiotic and archaic thing is getting the data out, which means you have small pliers. Then you take like each card and then you put all the cards into the card readers, and then you connect it to a computer and then you import it, and it takes a long time, and that's the time you don't have during the shooting day. So we did it just like 1 or 2 times, and one of the first things that we saw is that one of the scenes we had made in the Dome Church is flickering like crazy. So it was completely unusable. So we were in the town hall, and it just ran back like crazy while there was still some natural light, because Estonia is not a great place to shoot, because especially in the winter. So we made some new darker footage, because lighting equipment is also a thing. We used some equipment for light, but you have to either hide them away or take them away in the post. So yeah.
Cleanup in post must be a huge thing.
Cleanup
with,
is
with
important.
360 as well.
Yeah, it's we were in Amsterdam VR days, and some people from the GoPro and there's like some advertising people who were making 360 videos said that the usual rule is that 1 minute of footage is 1 week of post work. We did not have that.
Sounds plausible though.
Yeah, we did not have that resource for this project, and so it's some things like when people are walking past, and when you look really closely, you can see the stitch point where they pretty much go away from one camera and appear in the next. And we didn't have time to clean all that up. But what I did was remove the tripod. So everybody who's trying like VR for the first time, who was trying this, is, whoa, where are my feet? I'm floating in the air. And this like throws so much attention from people, like just, oh, I don't have any legs. So I'm actually thinking that maybe we should like put a coat over a tripod or something like this to generate some feeling of presence.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about upgrading your iteration regarding your video, such as like you were talking about, let's say, old town, and there's like towers and like old places. How about like whether if you would like to see somebody like from the 16th century, like the guy with the sword, like an artificial, I'm talking about augmented reality basically. Like how about like putting any kind of picture or video what you have, like inserting kind of augmented reality application could be like showing up much more efficient way to impress the people as well.
Well, sure. It's like one of the idea that
Like a
I
Pokemon
had
Go
at
thing,
some point.
instead of Pokemon put over there like a guy with a sword, so like could be like a little wow.
Yeah, we've actually had some people, one person in a medieval outfit, but for like tourism, it's something you could do. Like you're in a medieval castle, and you can sit in some chair and put on a headset, and then boom, it becomes like this. You can have nights and stuff, because, for example, in the old town you have this medieval restaurant, Olda Hansa,
Yeah.
and it's working night and day, like all the time. It means that it has to have all these actors in the clothes and all the things. Well, it needs to work constantly, but for a production, you could have this one budget to make this experience, to bring like extras and costumes and horses and fire and whatnot, and do this great experience. And every time a tourist wants to, go to the castle and try it out, then you don't have to bring the people together there anytime. So it's much more cost effective to create an awesome historical, entertaining experience. If you're asking more about to mix it up with interactivity, like for example that things start to appear when you look in some direction, then yeah, sure, it's definitely doable. Not with AR just yet. When in Amsterdam I tried HoloLens, and it's nowhere near that for a long time. So I think AR should hold off for a little while, but in VR, creating these sort of experiences for people, definitely possible. Yeah.
So where is it seeable actually?
It's almost being launched. It's as I mentioned, I brought some wrong files, so unfortunately I can't demo it today. But if you really want to, I can send it to you. It's watchable on Vive, Oculus Rift, and Gear VR. Apparently, well, Gear VR kind of sounds perfect for video because it's mobile, and the lack of head tracking is not really a problem because, well, as I mentioned, you can't really move around in live action footage. But apparently there are some limitations with Gear VR regarding the video bandwidth, the bitrate, and also the video playback in Gear VR is 30 FPS maximum, which is something I didn't know before. But in 60 FPS it looks a little bit better, so I should just Oculus for this project. But what the client is going to do with this project is that they're going to go to the international messes. Conferences and all that, so that they're going to create an international mess. And they're going to present it in these conferences from Gear VR, and they're also maybe going to set it up in like some information points for tourists to go into the tourist information place and get a quick glance So the idea of the project is definitely not to replace the good old physical tourism and going to places. It's to give the people a little bit of a taste and create interest so that they're like, okay, this looks interesting enough that I want to go there and see with my own eyes.
Final question, what hardware did you use? Did you use the University of Tallinn camera or you have your own rig? Like your own company has your own rig or?
The camera rig, the GoPro Omni rig we use belongs to the University of Tallinn. We rent it from them. And the good thing about GoPro is that it comes with software called Autopano Video and Autopano Giga, which sound really funny for the Finnish people. And these are pretty good, pretty professional. If you want to go further, then you should use some 3D software. Probably Heikki can tell you a little bit more about that.
The question was because you got the contract and
Yes.
then you needed the camera and no one had the camera, so there was a big.
Yes.
So now someone has the camera, so if anyone else
There's
wants to.
at least one of these cameras in Estonia, because that was originally we were supposed to shoot in the summer. Then summer was over, and we still didn't have a camera because GoPro Omni was released in August 17th, and I thought that we have no problem with getting the camera during that time. But alas, we did have a problem. So we were shooting, I think, late October. And at one point we were so desperate that we actually 3D printed the rig and tried to use the usual GoPros and put them inside and just connect them in post. We made a working demo, but after we got the Omni, the life got so much better. I think like one day after it arrived in Estonia, we already had a shooting day. We had like a quick tryout session, and everything seemed to work. So, well, not one day, a couple more days, but just controlling the GoPro rig, which is 3D printed, just controlling the separate cameras it proved to be so hard and also unprofessional that we're really happy that the Omni appeared in Estonia before the project. So yeah, now during the whole long process with the post-production and everything, we have learned a lot about it. So now we're ready to tackle all the professional jobs.
So anyone who needs know-how can come and steal it from you.
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you.
There's more stuff here.
That was one more. Yes, actually, since it's already there, just left it. The idea was how awesome it is location scout. That you can go to a place and make a 360 photo that was made with a Ricoh Theta camera, and then later in a cafeteria, this is first assistant director, I could just show her the locations, and we don't need to spend hours walking through them and discuss things. That she can just put on the headset and see it, and already ask all the questions like where do we get power, or what time is it best to shoot, and how do we get there, and all that. And afterwards she can watch the 360 photo of her taking a 360 photo and all crazy. And it's okay.